Ah, yes, water in Minecraft. A wonderful substance that does exactly what physics tells it to. Water, the thing that governs our very existence and helps us get by in our everyday lives in real life. But in Minecraft, all it's used for is watering crops. Let's start off with some of the more hidden features of how the game works. Magma blocks and soul sand blocks. If you're an experienced Minecrafter, you probably have used these many times and be well familiar with these different blocks and what they do and how they behave in water. But for those of you who don't know, magma blocks, when placed in water and have a clear view, and all of these blocks are water source blocks, because if you can see, if some of these actually aren't water source blocks, I can actually create an example. If we go on land for just a second, we build ourselves up a little chamber, because if you only put the water source block as something up here, this block beneath here isn't actually a water source block, so the magma block won't actually activate, and making you pull down into the depths. You need to make every block a water source block for the magma block to actually activate. And this isn't the only one that has this effect. There's also soul sand, which does the opposite thing to magma. So magma pulls you down, so you get stuck, and then soul sand pushes you up. Rather, quite a lot more than magma block pulls you down, just to make it easier. This is very commonly used in stuff like elevators and types of things that the experienced Minecraft player. This is an essential thing for any player's base. Just for some extra info, when you are in a magma block column, you do actually regain air, like breath. Don't ask me why. It's Mojang. It's not me. I don't know. It could be sucking water down from the surface, but I'll leave you to imagine what that could be. So, one of the things I wanted to say about this is that magma blocks, as you can see in its design, it actually does have specks. You can see tiny specks of lava flowing throughout this, and while that does make sense, as you take fire damage when you stand on it in survival. Obviously, I'm not in survival, but I would be taking damage if I were. Same applies when you are in the sea. Still not so reasonable. But the strange thing about magma blocks is when you shift on it, if I was in survival, I wouldn't be taking any damage, which is a ridiculous feature. Doesn't make sense. But Mojang decided to add it anyway, because what's the game without a few quirks, without a few things which they can abuse and make fun of, eh? So the actual basic principle of how this actually functions in Minecraft is that it sucks air from the top down where that magma block is. This is actually probably the exact opposite of what it's do in real life after a bit of scientific thinking, which didn't involve much, to be honest. Because if you were to place this in real life, don't ask me how you got the lava, just say, if you place this at the bottom of the river, this would not happen. What probably would happen is that, firstly, it would explode, rather quite violently, due to the water all around it being pretty much the exact opposite of lava, which is demonstrated in Minecraft, but not in this magma block thing. So it would explode, pushing all of this water up and forming a magnificent explosion of steam and water vapor. So the exact opposite of what it would do in Minecraft. And this is only one of the magma blocks downfalls. Moving on to the soul sand block, I can be a little more lenient with this because soul sand isn't actually anything in real life. It's entirely made up, which I could in the Nether, which I could talk about entirely other day, but that's for another video. And so, the gist of this is you go towards it and it pulls you up like this. There isn't much to say about this, considering that this situation is entirely impossible in real life, mostly due to the fact that soul sand doesn't exist, so I haven't got too many other things to say about this, other than the fact that how do they get bubbles? coming from this block. Is soul sand just magically producing air? Is that what you're trying to say, Mojang? Is that? It's yeah. Don't ask. Just don't ask. That's the thing I've learned. For some things you just gotta let it lie and not really care about it, because it is a very, very handy feature that I especially use a lot in my survival worlds, that I would definitely not remove. I'd keep this in. It's good. It's good. It's good. Magma, on the other hand, I'm not entirely sure. Though, do I like that it does spawn in like underwater ravines and stuff like that? I like the function. It helps Minecraft be that sort of more dangerous in the oceans of things. So when you're boating across the surface, you get sucked down. I like that sort of feel, but in reality, this wouldn't happen. But it is Minecraft, so we can forgive them for that one. Another thing that really doesn't make much sense in physics terms is this. Water behaves slightly differently to real life in this sort of sense, as that when you place water down, it sort of figures out the closest block down. In this case, it's this block, which is just a hole in the ground, and then immediately pathfinds to that location and falling into it, not continuing further over this other side. While I can see, while Mojang did this to sort of make that effect of the water going down the hill and stuff like that, it really isn't practical. There are a few ways this can be used, such as in farms, when you don't want the water to flow sideways, so you just create... It's easy to manipulate, so you can use that to create lots of different things. I don't know, maybe that's why Mojang put it in, but it's really not that realistic, seeing as when you place water, it shouldn't do this. Water should flow in all directions, like we have here. And even when it does flow in all directions, it's a friggin' square. It's a lumpy square, dude. Well, that is pretty... If they were to make this an actual circle, they would have a very hard time, so I understand why they've done that. But see, that's a bit more realistic, I guess. But like, it doesn't make sense. I think I'll leave this one. It doesn't really affect the gameplay too much. So, and I understand why Mojang's put it in. Potential solution to this is just make water flow outwards like that, wherever it goes. I don't think it will make such a huge influence on the game, but would make that just a bit more lifelike, that Minecraft suddenly just sometimes needs when you're just playing it, and you think, why can't that just be a bit more realistic? I'm sure you know what I mean. But for now, we're on to our next one, which is going to be water pressure. This is a thing in real life that happens basically when an area of water around something that perhaps isn't water, if the water then gets access to that, it will keep filling up until it gets to the level that the water around it is. I'm not a physicist, I can't offer a very good explanation, but this is sort of how hydroelectric dams work. Forgive me for a bit of a geography lesson, maybe science lesson here, but basically they have dams which due to the water potential energy of that gravity potential, they can use that to drive turbines, which then make energy. It's a way of creating renewable energy sources, and it can be used. But I'm afraid this won't work as well in Minecraft, although it does flow down like this. That does make a lot of sense. But what, as you notice here, the water stops flowing when it gets to its flow limit in this little box here. So in real life, this water would keep flowing in until there would be, if this would all be the same level as that. While I can understand that this would be very hard to code, and it would offer a great deal of effort, and especially in the new 1.17 cave snapshots that I've been taking a peek, I've been taking a look around, maybe might make a video on them soon. They have that layered water effect, and adding water pressure to that would just make everything messed up, and also, of course, I've said before, it would require a lot of coding. So I think there's this feature it could do without Minecraft, and I understand why they haven't put that in here, but still, it's something that's not realistic. And while Minecraft it can give that sort of fantasy subconscious vibe to it in this special game that I'm in right now. On the topic of things make sense, this is probably one of them. There's two things which are involved. Actually, no, three things which are involved in here. One of which I've already gone through, which is water behaving like this, going straight out before is. But there's a much more glaringly obvious thing that's obviously quite a bit off here, and you can see that this water is in fact floating and never running out of water. It's never running out of water. When you place, for example, a bucket of water in real life, say we have a bucket, you tip it on the ground, and roughly in probably a second or go, so it'll all have drifted down out of the way and dissipated across the floor. But that's not how it works in Minecraft. When you place a water bucket down, it stays there forever, and it is an infinite water source that you can in fact collect as much water. It just flows on forever down here, and no matter how long you make it flow, the water will always keep going, and that's very unrealistic. But I can see very clearly why Mojang didn't add this into the game, because if you were to just place it and then it would run out after a few seconds, then it would sort of open up that it would really close up a large amount of farming things that you can do, especially lots of automated stuff with water. So that's understandable why they didn't make all of this infinite. But there's another thing here. Floating water doesn't seem quite right either, does it? While Minecraft isn't a game especially known for its gravity, then we do have a bit of gravity in this game, and there's not many reasons why Mojang should have added this sort of effect. That so I'll show you how to create it. You create a tower in the ground. Just make any platform, make sure it's roughly equal, make sure it's square with a block in center. You can just place water in that middle bit, and then if you destroy these blocks, something strange begins to happen. The water which was previously over the top of blocks, flowing over the top, does not recede. It does not go back into this one single water source block that you usually have. It stays out here, and that's, while floating water source block is one thing, this is just another, because it's so nonsensical. It's very confusing indeed. And even if we were to block this water source off, like so, we would still get that thing underneath, and it's just, you know, it doesn't make sense, and yeah, it just doesn't. I guess that's it for that one. Another fact that I'd like to point out while we're still got this demonstration up, in real life this would be a waterfall. It'll be cascading torrent coming down from the heavens and then filling out the landscape, gradually forming a plunge pool underneath and carrying on the river across there. In Minecraft this isn't quite the same, however, as in real life. While actually no, I can almost guarantee that very few people can actually swim up waterfalls. But Mojang had to do this a little differently, because in Minecraft everyone can swim up waterfalls with no effects needed. They can swim up waterfalls with a speed of around 4 blocks per second, and that would be record-breaking swimming even without going above. So this is mad how I can just float around, and in this I can go down very slowly, while this water should be going at a much faster speed. I can just hang around, and the water doesn't seem to care that I'm completely defying the laws of physics and gravity, even going slightly outside. If I'm hanging on by a tiny bit of the water, I can still hold on. But no, only when you have none of your hitbox in the water, that is when you fall to your doom. Let us also take a moment to admire the fact that while this fall would kill a man in real life and in Minecraft, but just with a bucket of water, you can completely stop the fall and harm yourself from completely all damage. Now, if that's not realistic, I don't know what is. Finally, just to round off this video, let me just show you the last thing that we'll be looking at. And it involves lava. Also involves some water. And what happens when the lava touches the water? In real life, it probably would touch the water and create a lot of steam, and eventually it probably would turn to stone. But it wouldn't be the water that turned to stone. It would much more likely be the lava. Due to lava being, if it was, let's say this is above the ground, the water would definitely be a lot more comfortable in its temperature. So when the lava touches the water, a lot of steam would happen, and the lava on top would probably turn into some sort of, I don't know, volcanic rock, and then maybe sink to the bottom of the water. But no, that's not what happens in Minecraft. The lava goes down, and then as it flows down, very slowly, like I had, and then it touches the water and turns into stone, a completely non-volcanic rock, which has nothing to do with lava or what it does to water. Great job, Mojang. Oh, don't even get me started about lava. Don't get me started. There's so many. Anyway, we'll leave that for another video. Maybe coming out soon in a YouTube universe near you. And that's all for now, folks. And see ya!